What? Yes,
Bill, you always talk about needing to play to your identity, and in that first half, obviously that was not your identity.
No, I agree, 100%.
What can
Yeah,
you
I
for
just,
that?
The disappointing part for me is, what you get to this point in time of the season, these games are going to be grind out, games. And I think I mentioned before the game, there's going to be experiences that these guys are going to have to go through, quite honestly. And, the disappointing part was we didn't play to our identity. We just didn't. And I talked before the game about the turnovers. We had, we had 10, or 11 in the first half, and you give up 23 points at this point in time. You can't win like that. It's hard. And then I thought the recognition of how they were guarding and what they were doing, and not that they necessarily changed a lot. I mean, they had basically the last 2 games had put Bam on Josh, so it's not something that we hadn't seen before. And the first time we played them, they did that. The second time, they kind of switched up matchups, put Bam on Modest, which is fine, but just have the awareness of just like how they're guarding, what they're doing. And I think that we had this mentality of just, we didn't work the game. We didn't read the game well enough. And I'm hopeful for some of our guys that this can be a real good growth opportunity. And it's unfortunate because, I thought with the not confusion, but with all the uncertainty at the trade deadline and then getting the team together, the group really did a great job from the trade deadline on. You know what I mean? And you just, when you lose a game, you don't want to lose where, to your point, you're not playing to your identity how you want to. That was the disappointing part. But I appreciate the way these guys tried to come together and the way they worked all year long. Just wish it would have been a better game for us the way we played. And give Miami credit. They played well and did the things they needed to do in the game.
Billy, it appeared that Spoelstra came in looking to expose every flaw that he saw from you guys on film, and they were able to execute that. Did you get that sense that, they were going at Josh, they were making Kobe work on defense, they were slowing the pace and controlling the pace? Everything they wanted to do, especially that first quarter, they exposed for you guys.
I think the biggest challenge for us in the game, and I'm supposed probably better off to answer that, I don't like in the game in terms of things that they've done, like Hero, last time we played here, he had a really, really bad shooting night in those areas of the floor that he shot great tonight on, quite honestly. Like the difference in the game last time we played them, not only did we score more transition points, but we outshot them in some of the non-paint too and took drastically fewer numbers. I thought our issue was whether it was Mitchell, whether it was Hero, whether it was Wiggins, we could not control the ball at all. So I don't think it was necessarily Kobe or Josh. It was everybody. We had a really hard time maintaining the ball in the coverage and in the pick and rolls.
And then I've asked you this question a couple times throughout the year in different instances, but at the same time, you guys have built this team. There's no all-star. There's guys that potentially could be all-stars, but potential is, that's just hope. Miami has an all-star and Hero. The all-star came to play in a game like this. Until you guys get to that level, don't you have one hand tied behind your back until this organization can figure out how do we get that all-star, how do we get that dude?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, one of the things I think has changed a little bit over the course of the NBA was it was quote-unquote you have to have 3 guys. Right. But I think what's happened now is because of the pace of the game and the speed of the game, sometimes having 3 guys like that financially doesn't allow you to kind of build out your team.
Right.
To your point, absolutely. You look at any great team, they have a guy that's really, really elite. You know what I mean? And you can go, and I mean, and a lot of times it's, in the backcourt. Brunson's obviously been great in New York. Shea's been great in Oklahoma City. Van Fleet's really helped. You can go, Curry, you can kind of go down the list. And I'm not saying he needs to be a backcourt player, but, I think Kobe made a really, really good jump wherever he gets to. I don't know. Josh made a good jump as well. But to your point, the guys that you're talking about, that is. And I'm sure those will be all things that the front office will take a look at as they go into the draft and into, free agency and all those things. So I don't disagree with you because that's kind of been the case. I just think what's changed maybe is it used to be the number of guys you needed. But, I think now, you have to kind of build out a whole entire team. But clearly you need a really, really good player. But I was encouraged to see the jump that Kobe and Josh made, and the jump that Modest made. Are they there, right now, no, but certainly Kobe's inching closer and closer to that, in my opinion, with the way he's played.
Obviously, these games, it's long games, but these kind of games, postseason, that you want to put your impact, team wants to put their impact on the game. And it seemed like Miami, they drove the ball the first 5 times, didn't pull up a shot. They just drove it back and kind of seemed to put you on your heels. I know it's the first couple of minutes of the game, but it seemed like from that point on, early on, you guys were just reacting to what they were doing. What did you see?
I agree with you. I think that our inability to control the basketball at the point of the screen, and then the fact that there was a couple of opportunities for us to put bodies in plays and go vertical at the rim, and we jumped to the side and tried to block shots and gave them angles there, coupled with the fact that you turn the ball over, struggle offensively, not making shots, and then all of a sudden, to your point, it was everybody. I think Joe had mentioned, whoever it was. It was every single guy for them. We were unable to contain the basketball. I mean, we went boxing 1 against Hero. We ended up playing zone. We just needed to be better controlling the ball at the point of the screen, and we really had a hard time tonight doing that. But I do agree. Anytime someone's driving the ball like that, yes, there's going to be challenges.
What you all saying leading up to this is these games change in the sense that they're going to be more physical than you see during the regular season. Did you feel that you were ready for that?
Yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily more physical. I mean, I didn't feel that way from the bench. I didn't feel that way. I thought, like I said, I think our turnovers, the kind of offense that we generated hadn't been what we had been generating, identity-wise. I didn't think the officials let a bunch of stuff go, and it was just hand-to-hand combat. I just didn't feel that way. They came out, I think, to what Joe mentioned, and executed way better than we did. And they deserved the game with the way they played. All the way around. But I didn't feel it was anything. It was like a different kind of game for our guys. Now I do think probably have to speak to them on being in this situation where you're playing an elimination game, how they felt about that. But I thought we had 2 good days leading into it. I think we kind of got out of character of how we have played for a pretty long stretch, and give them some credit because they probably did some of that to us, and some of it we just got to have a better awareness of situations that led to some of that.
Billy, just looking at the season on the whole for...
I'm sorry?
Just on the season on the whole for Josh, obviously kind of a divisive player, really improved over the course of the season, obviously able to put up some big numbers, but also at times, to Joe's point, able to kind of pick on him defensively. I'm just curious how you evaluate his growth over the course of the season and where he got to. Obviously, there's a big decision coming up for his free agency this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think Josh, and I think you want this for every player that you work with, is to show progress and growth and improvement. And I think that you can honestly say that. Outside of we didn't coach well enough, play well enough, everything was not good enough today to win the game. So I'm just trying to look at the totality of what you're talking about. I think he's made drastic improvements. I think he's gotten a lot better. I think that I think there's ways that he can still grow in terms of manipulating the basketball game with his IQ, because he's guarded specifically in different ways, and I think there's ways that he can manipulate those things to generate good outcomes for himself and for other guys. But overall, from where he started to where he was today, I thought he really made really, really good progress over the course of the season.
Billy, you mentioned really enjoying coaching this group. What do you tell them now that the season comes to an abrupt end?
I never really like talking about it after a game like this. I'll get together with those guys tomorrow and talk more about that. I think it's always, at least I'm only speaking for myself, I can speak to them. I just didn't feel that, we played how we've been playing identity-wise. To your question, that's why it hurts so much for me, because, when you're with these guys every single day, they've been incredible all the way through. And I know every NBA team over 82 games goes through some kind of stuff, There's always stuff that you're going to go through. And sometimes the stuff can tear you apart and break you down and not allow you. I really appreciate the way they've tried to stick together, the way they tried to play the game to an identity of how we tried to play, their unselfishness, the way they tried to work with each other. You know, it was very, very rewarding for me. The result tonight was not, but the everyday going to work with these guys was incredibly rewarding for me.
How often he is on the defensive end of the ball, especially kind of looking at how that first half went. That was kind of the worst case scenario for him in terms of some of those defensive matchups.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me in that situation because, you know, there's going to be breakdowns at the point of screens, right? You know, like, we're not talking about the fact that our low man is not protecting the rim and there's no sign of anybody there. Like, that's not all on Josh or Kobe or the perimeter. And vice versa, sometimes you got to be able to manage and control the ball a little bit at the point of screen so you don't have to come over there. I just thought that Hero off the dribble got wherever he wanted to. Mitchell got wherever he wanted to. Wiggins got wherever he wanted to. You know, they all got where they wanted to. And we need to be better collectively in that area. Now, going back to starting training camp, I mentioned we have some challenges defensively, you know, and those things are not going to get resolved. I didn't think we played good enough team defense. And I don't want to take away anything from Miami because they had a lot to do with it, and they played a really, really good game, so give them credit. But I'm looking at it through where we needed to be better in order to play better. We needed to be much better at the point of the screen, but that was for everybody.
Do you feel like that's something that the front office needs to address this offseason in terms of just there being more defensive kind of firepower on this roster?
Yeah, like it's hard for me right now when the season ends. They've always been great about including me in on stuff, and they've always tried to just give me space, you know, with all the games that are coming, just to coach and to focus on the guys. And we talk about the team and the guys, but there'll be a time for all that stuff, you know, where we'll all sit down at some point and talk. Generally, they like everybody kind of decompressing for a couple weeks and then kind of regathering to talk about it. So, you know, we'll see. I mean, I think we were better defensively than what we showed tonight. I definitely feel that. I feel like our guys made some strengths, some growth, and not that we were this stellar defensive team, but I felt like we got better, and the numbers showed that over the course of the year.
Thank you.
Billy, thank you.
Oh, hey, listen, thank you. Oh, yes, everybody, thank you. Appreciate you guys. Were wonderful to work with as well. Thank you. No, appreciate it. Thank you.
No players in here. We'll open up the locker